Good evening, I'm Maham Tawa with the news-making headlines around the world. The cabinet discusses the latest political developments on the Arab and international arenas. The US airdrops weapons and supplies for Kurdish forces fighting the IS in the town of Kobani in Syria. Fighting in the eastern city of Benghazi leaves 65 people dead as fierce battles continues for a sixth day. And Japan's justice minister resigns hours after trade and industry minister submits her resignation. In our first item, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah received this morning at Sif Palace the First Deputy Premier and Foreign Minister Sheikh Sabah Al-Khalid Al-Hamad Al-Sabah. His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah received the cable of congratulations from His Excellency the President of South Africa, Jacob Zuma, for naming His Highness the Emir Humanitarian Leader and Kuwait Humanitarian Center by the United Nations. In his cable, President Zuma commended the great philanthropic efforts exerted by His Highness the Emir locally and internationally and wished Kuwait further prosperity and development under his wise leadership. For his part, His Highness the Emir sent the South African leader a reply cable in which he expressed gratitude for his gesture that reflects the depth of bilateral relations between the two countries and wishing him more progress and prosperity. His Highness the Crown Prince Sheikh Nawaf Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah received this morning at his Sif Palace Diwan the First Deputy Premier and Foreign Minister Sheikh Sabah Al-Khalid Al-Hamad Al-Sabah. The National Assembly Speaker Marzouk Ali Al-Ghanem met today at his office with Chairman of Kuwait Squash Federation Walid Al-Ismaili, head of the delegation participating in the 17th Asian Games in Incheon, South Korea, Mishal Al-Shargawi, coach Nasser Sayed Zahran, as well as players Abdullah Al-Mizyan, Falah Faiz Mohammed and Ammar Al-Tamimi. Speaker Al-Ghanem then received the head of the delegation participating in the Masters Games and Secretary General of Kuwait Karate Federation, Ahmad Abdel Sattar Bahbahani, coach Badr Mikhlid Lataibi, gold medal winner Rashid Falah Limtiri, silver medal winner Hamad Al-Nuaim, and bronze medal winner Ali Hassan Abdel Aziz. The National Assembly Speaker also received Chairman of Kuwait Taekwondo Federation Faiz Al-Dihani, coach Aqil Abdullah Snafi, and player Abrar Al-Fahad. His Highness Sheikh Jabir Al-Mubarak Al-Hamad Al-Sabah, the Prime Minister, received today at Sif Palace Chairman of the State Audit Bureau, Abdulaziz Yusuf Al-Adsani, who presented to His Highness reports on the Bureau's revision of the state budget and final accounts for the fiscal year 2013-2014. The Council of Ministers held its weekly meeting at Sif Palace this afternoon under the chairmanship of His Highness Sheikh Jabir Al-Mubarak Al-Hamad Al-Sabah, the Prime Minister. Following the meeting, the Minister of State for Cabinet Affairs and Acting Minister of Justice Sheikh Mohammed Abdullah Al-Mubarak Al-Sabah said the Cabinet extended congratulations on the advent of the Hijri year 1436 to His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah, His Highness the Crown Prince Sheikh Nawaf Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah, and the Kuwaiti people. The Cabinet then took note of the messages addressed to His Highness the Emir by His Excellency the President of Yemen Abdel Rabbu Mansour Hadi, His Excellency the French President François Hollande, and Her Excellency the Interim President of Central Africa Catherine Samba Banza. The messages dealt with bilateral relations and means of consolidating them in all fields. The Cabinet also took note of the message addressed to His Highness the Emir by His Excellency the President of Turkey Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Within the same context, the Council of Ministers reviewed the message addressed to His Highness the Emir by the UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon that included an invitation for His Highness to attend the Third World Conference on Disaster Risk Reduction due in Sendai, Japan next March. The First Deputy Premier and Foreign Minister Sheikh Sabah Al-Khalid Al-Hamad Al-Sabah then briefed the Cabinet on the outcome of his recent visit to Iraq, heading an Arab delegation that comprised the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Cooperation of Mauritania and the Arab League Secretary-General. Sheikh Sabah Al-Khalid also informed the Cabinet of the outcome of his meetings and talks with His Excellency the Iraqi President Dr. Fuad Masoom and senior Iraqi officials, in addition to his participation in the 4th GCC Ministerial Meeting on Strategic Dialogue held in Kuwait last week. On a separate matter, the Council of Ministers approved the draft decree appointing Lieutenant General Mohammed Khalid Al-Khidr as Chief of the Army's General Staff, based on a proposal by the Deputy Premier and Minister of Defense Sheikh Khalid Al-Jarrah Al-Sabah. The Cabinet then ratified a draft decree on amending some provision of Law No. 42 of 1978 regarding sports authorities and submitted it to His Highness the Emir for approval, based on a proposal by the Minister of Information and Minister of State for Youth Affairs Sheikh Salman Sabah Al-Salim Al-Mahmoud Al-Sabah. The Cabinet also reviewed the report presented by the General Secretariat of the Higher Council of Planning and Development on the annual follow-up with the third yearly plan for 2012-2013, as well as the half-annual follow-up with the fourth yearly plan for 2013-2014. In this regard, the Council of Ministers listened to an explanation by the Minister of Social Affairs and Labour and Minister of State for Planning and Development Affairs, Hind Barrak Al-Sabih, on the plan's contents and objectives, as well as the obstacles facing them. Finally, the Cabinet discussed the latest political developments on the Arab and international arenas. The Deputy Premier and Minister of Defense Sheikh Khalid Al-Jarrah Al-Sabah met this morning at his office with Commander of the Central U.S. Air Force, Lieutenant General John Hesterman, and his accompanying delegation currently visiting the country. During the meeting, they discussed issues of common concern, especially in the military domain, praising the depth of mutual ties linking both countries. The meeting was attended by the Deputy Chief of the Army's General Staff, Lieutenant General Mohammed Khalid Al-Khidr, U.S. Ambassadors to Kuwait Douglas Suleiman, and a host of military commanders. The Deputy Premier and Minister of Defense then received the Danish Minister of Defense Nikolai Wammen and his accompanying delegation on the occasion of his visit to the country. The officials tackled bilateral relations and means of boosting them in all fields, in addition to issues of common concern. The meeting was attended by Lieutenant General Mohammed Al-Khidr and a host of military commanders. Later on, Sheikh Khalid Al-Jarrah received the U.S. Senate delegation headed by Darrell Issa, where they discussed common military matters and ways of strengthening mutual relations. The meeting was attended by the Deputy Chief of the Army's General Staff, U.S. Ambassador to Kuwait, and a host of military commanders. The Security Media Department of the Interior Ministry appeals on all citizens and expatriates to take necessary precautions due to the current bad weather conditions that Kuwait is currently witnessing, urging all to not hesitate in case of need and call the emergency line 112. The U.S. military airdropped weapons supplies to Kurdish fighters defending the border Syrian town of Kobani against the IS militant group, despite its ally Turkey's declarations opposing such a move. Meanwhile, fierce fighting raged in the town for weeks, forcing the evacuation of most of its civilian population. Our reporter Nadia Ali has more in this report.
U.S. military aircraft have dropped weapons, ammunition, and medical supplies to Kurdish fighters battling IS militants in the key Syrian town of Kobani. The U.S. Central Command said today that it delivered weapons, ammunition, and medical supplies to the Kurds who are trying to repel an assault by IS fighters. In addition, C-130 transport aircraft had made several drops of supplies provided by Kurdish authorities in Iraq, which involved 3 planes and 27 bundles of supplies. The U.S. military said it airdropped arms to Syrian Kurds, the first such delivery in more than a month of fighting, and a move that could upset Turkey. Meanwhile, U.S. President Barack Obama called his Turkish counterpart, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, and they pledged to step up the fight against militants in Iraq and Syria. However, President Erdogan said he would not allow Kurdish fighters to receive any transfers of American arms. The Turkish government has also turned down Syrian Kurdish requests for it to open a land corridor so Kobani could be resupplied from other Kurdish areas of northern Syria. Turkey's rejection to arm the main Kurdish party in Syria, describing the group as a terrorist organization linked to the outlawed Kurdistan Workers' Party, which has waged a 30-year insurgency for self-rule in southeastern Turkey. Over in Iraq, new Western airstrikes are taking place in the key northern Baji oil refinery, which is under constant IS threat, while the Iraqi military said it was carrying out an offensive to retake the nearby city of the same name. In other developments, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry today visited Indonesia to press Southeast Asian nations to step up efforts in the fight against the IS militants. During his one-day visit, Kerry was set to use a series of bilateral meetings to urge Southeast Asian leaders to take more action against the growing threat from the IS.
The UN Human Rights Committee is set to question Israel on human rights violations against Palestinians, while Palestinians rally more diplomatic support to unravel Israeli oppressive actions against the Palestinian people, particularly with regards to the aftermath of the latest offensive in Gaza and the recent incursion in the Holy Aqsa Mosque. Our reporter Fatma Abdelkarim has more in this report.
The United Nations Human Rights Committee is going to summon Israel to a session questioning its violations of human rights in the Palestinian territories today. This step is considered to be another diplomatic victory to Palestinians who have been rallying diplomatic support to unravel the different Israeli oppressive actions and policies taken against Palestinians, especially in the aftermath of the impasse reached at negotiations and the Israeli military escalation in Gaza and Jerusalem, where continued incursions of Al-Aqsa Mosque have triggered a new dimension of tension across Palestine and the Arab world.
The occupation government committed war crimes and crimes against humanity. Therefore, we should not be silent. This committee is very important for documenting the Israeli violations as we prepare for the Security Council.
The UN committee is expected to address Israel's offensive on Gaza last summer, as well as its military actions in the West Bank and East Jerusalem as a main emphasis. However, Israeli sources said it is expecting questioning over the re-imprisonment of Palestinians released in the Shalit deal in 2011, the incarceration conditions of Palestinian political detainees and their hunger strikes, including the administrative detainees held without charge or trial, and issues relating to rights of minorities inside Israel.
Israel is
the only out-of-law state. It is the only state that fails to abide by the Security Council. It is the only apartheid state. Now, after South Africa and its questioning is the minimum that could be done. Israel should be dealt with through the binding 7th article of the United Nations.
Palestinians seem to want this questioning session a warning as it prepares to join more international and UN bodies seeking to end the Israeli occupation and putting a resolution draft specific to that at the Security Council's agenda for this year. Many Palestinians could be relieved for lining Israel up for international reprimanding today, a relief that was reflected in the Palestinian Foreign Ministry's recent statement in which it said Israel will be dealt a big blow in the upcoming UN Security Council vote regarding Palestine. Fatma Abdel Karim, Kuwait TV, Ramallah, Palestine.
A Libyan official said fighting in the eastern city of Benghazi between militias and pro-government fighters left 65 people dead as fierce battles continues for a sixth day. The official said the death toll includes all those killed since a pro-government offensive began on October the 15th. The fighting displaced thousands of residents. It comes as Libyans commemorate the 3-year anniversary of the capture and killing of the long-time late President Muammar al-Gaddafi at the end of Libya's 8-month civil war in 2011. Meanwhile, Libya's beleaguered elected parliament declared a formal alliance with a renegade former general as it struggles to assert some authority in a country many fear is sliding into outright civil war. A suicide bomber targeted a mosque in central Baghdad, killing at least 17 worshippers today, while a triple car bombing in the holy city of Karbala killed 16. The police declared the attacker blew up his explosive-laden vest as people were leaving the Al-Khairat Mosque in Baghdad's commercial area following noon prayers. The police also declared that at least 25 people were wounded in the explosion of Baghdad. The attacks in Baghdad and Karbala came a day after a suicide bombing targeted another mosque in the Iraqi capital in the western Harithia neighborhood, killing 28 people. Japan's Justice Minister resigned today after being accused of violating electoral laws after the Trade and Industry Minister quit over a funding scandal, dealing Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's his biggest setback since taking office in 2012. Following the resignation, Japan's Justice Minister said that Abe government is working to revive the economy and that she will continue to support the Abe government, but as an individual lawmaker. Abe apologized to the country for the resignation, saying that he appointed both ministers and therefore the responsibility lays with him as Prime Minister. Moreover, the resignations of the two ministers could complicate decisions on key policies, including whether to go ahead with an unpopular plan to raise the national sales tax and planned restarts of nuclear reactors that were shut down after the 2011 Fukushima disaster. European Union nations are working to find €1 billion to help fight Ebola in West Africa and streamline a common approach in dealing with the health crisis. EU foreign ministers today opened a week of talks so that their 28 leaders can agree by Friday on a package of measures which should include anything from financial aid to common repatriation procedures, treatment facilities on site and training for health workers. British Foreign Secretary Philip Hammond said the €1 billion fund was needed as soon as possible because of the very short window to prevent the spread of the disease. And moving on to the local business news, where Kuwait Stock Exchange ended today's trading session on a mixed board, with the weight index reading 484.61, gaining 0.44 points. The KSX 15 index registered at 1,182.94, gaining 1.95 points, while the price index went down to 7,385.27, shedding 2.58 points. The number of trades amounted to 3,042 transactions worth 13 million Kuwaiti dinars, with around 137 million shares changing hands. Indians in Kuwait.com organized their third annual mega community celebration, Diwali Mela 2014, under the patronage and attendance of the Ambassador of India to the State of Kuwait, His Excellency Sunil Jain. Bringing all Indian communities in Kuwait together, the event marks Diwali, also known as Dipwali, and the Festival of Lights, which spiritually signifies the victory of light over darkness, knowledge over ignorance, good over evil, and hope over despair. Sarah Farisglobe has more in this report.
Indians in Kuwait.com held its much-awaited mega community celebration entitled Diwali Mela 2014, a full-day event that brought all Indian associations together in a common platform to celebrate Diwali, or the Festival of Lights, an ancient Hindu festival observed every year in autumn.
Diwali is a big celebration in India. We are all Indians celebrate Diwali. It's a big celebration. So here, we are celebrating this for the third time. Here, all Indian community is coming together in this, for this celebration, and they are part of this celebration. Here, the main thing is we are bringing all people from different part of India, from North India, South India, West India, all coming together for this celebration. And they have a lot of community performance, dance performance, cultural performance, all these things we are having here.
Deepavali is the festival of lights. It's celebrated by all communities, and with the lighting of lamps, fireworks and crackers. So I think on 23rd, if you see our TVs all over India, you'll find and of course on this occasion, we all clean our houses, paint them, and children enjoy sweets. Of course, and there's a very strong spiritual side to it. This represents, it's a moonless night, and after 14 years of exile, Lord Ram returned to Ayodhya. That is to celebrate his coming home. So this is the significance of the festival.
Various local and regional Indian associations participated in the event, which featured a variety of stalls displaying flavors from different parts of India and all kinds of games and activities for the whole family.
We are glad to be a part of this event, and we are sponsoring some free tickets, and we've got some souvenirs given away, and especially I'm tapping those communities from Indian. We are offering them special prizes, special extra luggage when they travel. And we are giving some specialized things today in this Diwali event. And I wish all Indians a happy Diwali too.
Us as the Murad Behmani group via TikTok, we always support all communities in Kuwait, regardless from where they are. We just support the Kuwaiti community, the Indian community. We support them to do cultural events. That way we get closer to all communities in Kuwait. And it's a very excellent event that they sponsor every year, and we try to be a part of it one way or the other every year.
The event also featured Diwali Mithai competition, Rangoli, kids' fancy dress, Diwali lanterns or candle made by students from various Indian schools, a cultural fashion show, and dance and artistic performances that guaranteed a fun-filled entertainment day for the entire family. Thousands of Indians from all walks of life have turned up to participate in one of their country's most popular and important holidays. As for the third year, Indians in Kuwait.com has organized their full-day mega community event to celebrate Diwali, the Festival of Lights. From the Salmiya Indian Model School, this is Sarah Glubb reporting for English News.
And in our final item tonight, the first Canadian stamps exhibition in Kuwait opened recently at the Al Ahmed Al Adwani Exhibition Hall. Under the patronage of the National Council for Cultural Arts and Letters and in collaboration with the Canadian Embassy of Kuwait, the exhibition includes hundreds of pieces from the first beaver stamps circulated back in 1895 to more modern-day depictions. Reporter Badriya Saleh has the details.
The first Canadian stamps exhibition recently opened for the first time in Kuwait. a personal collection of Joseph Louis Kohori. The collection marks the change of the country's postage history from the very first beaver postage stamp to the modern-day depiction. This private collection of Canadian stamps showcases the evolution since the very first Canadian stamp, created by Stanford Fleming, featuring the beaver instead of the more commonly seen royal figure.
Well, tonight is a display of Canadian stamps and presented by one of our top Canadian stamp collectors who happens to be resident here in Kuwait. So we've worked tonight together with the National Council for Culture, Art and Literature, our resident Canadian stamp collector and the Canadian Embassy to bring this story, a bit of a story of Canada through stamps to Kuwait. History is told through stamps. Stamps witness the course of history. So it's a wonderful way to have some insight into what has happened in the development of Canada through hundreds of years, in fact. Some of these stamps, the oldest dates back to 1858. A lot has happened in Canada and Kuwait in that time, and this is a small insight into those moments in time.
I started collecting when I was 16 years old, and during the Lebanese Civil War, we moved to Canada as immigrant in 1990, and I was like not a collector. It was a small hobby issue and became a major hobby for me and a passion. And due to the quality of the Canadian stamps, the colors, the designs, and the issues, very limited issues or special issues, and this passion kept on going with me all over the world. Wherever I travel, I carry on it's like a child. My hobby is like one of my child. And I made a good relation with designers, with Post. Like I'm a member of the Canada Post, I'm a member of the US Post, I'm a member of the UAE Post, of Kuwait Post, Lebanon Post, Liban Post as well. And I receive issues on daily basis and I don't know what to do with it. It's stacked all over my house, but it's my passion and I love it.
Kohori started collecting stamps at the age of 16 while in Lebanon, then turned his hobby into a passion when he moved to Canada in 1990. At the time, he was collecting pieces concentrated mainly on the arts, specifically from Lebanon, Canada, the US, the UAE, and Kuwait.
Actually, due to when you start stacking your collection, you gotta put it in order, either in albums or in a special storage, and this make you be more careful with your collection, because with the time it's like a good investment, because when I was young I have some stamps which I paid maybe 50 cents or $1, and now it's worth more than $100 or $200, and some stamps they go up high the sky due to some errors or limited issue, and it becomes like valuable for you, and you cannot just give it away or leave it behind.
The exhibit consists of old letters, souvenir sheets, limited edition framed lithographed prints, as well as joint issues of stamps and coins by the Canada Post and the Royal Canadian Mint, among other pieces. Though this is the first time the collection has been displayed, Kohori says he hopes to take the exhibition around the world before ideally settling the collection in a museum. At the Ahmed Al-Douani Hall, I'm Badriya Saleh, reporting for the English News.
For a chance to see our reports again, please visit our YouTube channel at MOI Kuwait News. Well, with that, we conclude our news bulletin. Thank you for joining us. Have a pleasant time. I'm Maham Tawa. Before we go, we remind you once again of our main top stories. Have a pleasant time and good night. The Cabinet discusses the latest political developments on the Arab and international arenas. The U.S. airdrops weapons and supplies for Kurdish forces fighting the IS in the town of Kobani in Syria. Fighting in the eastern city of Benghazi leaves 65 people dead as fierce battles continues for a sixth day. And Japan's Justice Minister resigns hours after Trade and Industry Minister submits her resignation.